Hello guys, this is Alex here from the Growing Younger team from Physiotherapy. Welcome to this interview webinar entitled What Foods Help Injury Healing and Recovery. Now this is quite an exciting topic because quite a few of you, my patients, have asked me this. You've queried what kind of nutrition, what kind of diet you need to adapt when you're recovering from an injury, whether it be an ankle sprain or a back injury. It's quite a common question that I get, and it tends to be one of those questions that falls outside of my area of expertise. And that's why here tonight we've got Elaine Bracefield. She's a leading nutritionist and biochemist from DNA Nutrition I believe she's based in Northcote in Auckland. So she will give us some more information about what kind of foods you should choose if you want your injury to heal quicker. Now we're going to give just a couple more minutes for everyone else to join us, and we'll get started. Now, whoever's on this call, could you just type in hello or in the chat box so that we know that you can hear me, you can see me. Just so I know that everything is going all right. Hi, Elaine.
Alex, how are you doing?
For some reason, let me just adjust my volume. I can't really hear you very well.
I can't seem to hear you either, actually. Oh, and I can hear you okay.
Great. Yeah, no, I can hear you pretty good as well now.
Okay, that's good.
Perfect. Hey, look, I did a little introduction just a couple of minutes ago. So basically, Elaine is the biochemist and the nutritionist that is going to share some really interesting information with us tonight. And the topic of today's conversation is what foods you should eat when you're recovering from an injury. Elaine, do you want to just say a couple of words and just kind of introduce yourself?
Sure. So, yeah, I'm a nutritional biochemist, and my area of specialty is in DNA testing for gene-tailored nutrition advice. So I really make sure that all my nutrition guidelines and recommendations are personalized and targeted for people's unique body types, because no one-size diet fits everybody. Everybody's got quite unique nutritional requirements. And so that's why the paleo diet might work for one person, and the other person it might make them gain weight. So you never know. And that's why looking into the DNA, we can tell exactly how your metabolism is geared and which kind of diet would optimize your health and reduce your risk of diseases in the future as well.
Right. It actually sort of makes sense because, I mean, we deal with health, with healthcare a lot, and what I tend to hear is that one person says, oh, look, I went on the keto diet and I lost so many kilos and I feel great. And another person says, look, I've done exactly the same, but I'm feeling horrible. I couldn't wait to get off it. So
yeah.
So what you're actually saying is that, one person may respond really well to one diet, another person may respond quite differently to exactly the same diet.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Pretty much.
So like DNA testing, so when a person comes to you, they sort of, you take like a hair sample or something along those lines?
I take a saliva sample. So essentially you have to spit into a test tube.
Right.
Okay, and then I send off your test tube, which with your saliva sample, to a lab in Australia called SmartDNA. They carry out the analysis and they test 100 key genes that have been scientifically proven to have a significant impact on your health if you do have mutations.
Right.
And then from there we can go and look at, your particular susceptibilities and what things and what kind of foods and triggers you should avoid in order to stop those genes firing off if they're unhealthy disease-promoting genes. And also if you've got good genes, what can you be doing to optimize those? So it's essentially about knowing what you have so you can make the most of your good genes and reduce the damage caused by your less desirable genes. Because we're a mixture of everything. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
So it's about empowering the person to take ownership of their health and really look at how they can actually focus and target their weaknesses and just take ownership and control over that area. So it's not like your genes dictate your destiny in terms of your health. So if you have a gene that predisposes you to high cholesterol, for instance, That's only going to get switched on if you're eating the wrong type of fats in your diet.
Right.
Whereas if you aren't eating those unhealthy fats, it's not going to be switched on and it's no longer a problem. So this is where your lifestyle, dietary choices literally can switch your genes on or off and overrule them. So it really is mind over matter, and this is why it's so important to know what triggers to avoid and what things you should be eating to optimize your genes.
Right. So, and you can tell it from taking someone's saliva sample, essentially.
Pretty much. It's pretty fascinating, and we look at various areas. The first area is cholesterol, so fat metabolism. And then we go on to type 2 diabetes risk, so glucose metabolism. Then we also look into protein requirements because different people have different protein needs, and also fat requirements. And further on it goes into micronutrient requirements, so how much vitamin B, how many B vitamins do you need? Also vitamin A, vitamin E, if you're prone to being deficient in certain micronutrients. So then you can really tailor your diet to make sure you're not getting deficient.
Okay.
So yeah, it really gets quite specific about the individual nutrient requirements, and it does go further on to also looking into stress management. I find this really interesting, the stress management part, because everybody's quite unique in how they deal with stress, and a lot of it's actually already pre-wired in your DNA. Whether or not you're a cool, calm, collected person or you're more anxiety prone.
Okay.
There's a huge genetic factor that influences that. So we do test the genes that are involved in that, and so there we can help people with their stress and mood management as well through the right supplements, the right nutrition, and just also the right, mindset as well.
Wow. That's really interesting. And the reason why it's especially interesting for me is because we actually run this Growing Younger program, which is essentially designed to affect the person's biological age, to reduce their biological age. And you probably know about telomeres, which is basically you could say the biological clock. And we've done a lot of research on how, like exercise, nutrition, how to actually reverse the biological age, particularly to lengthen the telomeres. So what you're actually saying, it kind of goes really hand in hand with what we do. But obviously, probably more about it. So, but no, that's really interesting. We could actually talk afterwards. I think we could, we could certainly kind of benefit each other in many ways just by sharing some knowledge.
Sure, yeah.
So let's go into basically tonight's discussion, injuries. Okay, so when a person gets injured, so let's say they twisted an ankle, they rupture the ligament in their knee or shoulder. What happens on a chemical level? What actually happens inside their bodies? How does it change?
Okay, so the initial reaction in the body immediately after an injury is to start the inflammation process. Okay, so inflammation is an irritating process because it causes pain, swelling, redness, and that immediate effect you have. But it's also very important because the inflammation process is where the healing and repair begins. So inflammation is triggered by actually genetic changes. Okay, so whenever you're injured, certain genes are now being switched on, and these genes actually produce inflammatory cytokines and inflammatory chemicals, and also promote white blood cell proliferation. And also these inflammatory compounds and chemicals then are attracted and go to the injured site, where they then really they actually stop the blood flow and the oxygen flow to the tissue. So this causes cell degradation and it causes cell death, right? So it can obviously damage the site of it if it's long term, but initially this is needed because your body actually has to then start removing this dead tissue.
Right.
Okay, so and these inflammatory compounds also attract blood fluid, so plasma, to the injured site, which is what actually causes the pain and the swelling.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a widespread belief that inflammation is bad because you've got the anti-inflammatories, the medications, and everyone seems to want to stop inflammation. So would you recommend trying different things to stop inflammation, or is inflammation, it has its place?
Inflammation actually has its place. There's a reason why your body responds that way. And it's good in the initial injury phase. So say 1 week after you've been injured, you don't need to do anything to reduce the inflammation. In fact, it's an important part of kickstarting the healing process.
Right.
However, if inflammation is excessive and long-term and it's just ongoing, like what you see in chronic injuries or chronic like osteoarthritis, joint pain issues, that's just ongoing all the time, because inflammation does promote destruction of tissues, it can lead to degradation of your joints, degradation of your cartilage, which obviously leads to more damage, which is not desirable. This is why inflammation management is also really important for injury recovery long term.
Right.
So yeah, so essentially eating an anti-inflammatory diet is very useful in the recovery phase, but not straight away. So I'd say, leave it for a week.
Yeah.
The inflammation's, it's going to be painful, it's going to be irritating, but it's also going to be helping the body to get rid of the injured tissues, okay?
Sure.
So that process has to happen.
That kind of leads me to the next question, which is, a lot of patients ask me, because a lot of people I see in the physio clinic, they come to me day 1, day 2 after an injury, and the first question they ask me is, should I be taking anti-inflammatories? Is that going to help me heal? So if the person is like, say, first or second day after an injury, should they be taking anti-inflammatories?
No, it would be a mistake.
Right.
They shouldn't be, because they're interfering with the body's natural process, and it's supposed to happen that way. But if the inflammation goes unchecked and unmanaged long term, then it's a problem. So after 1 week, then they can start doing some anti-inflammatory stuff.
Wow. It's so good to get that black and white answer, to be honest, because I've spoken to even some doctors, and they sort of wishy-washy. I'm not sure. Yeah, well, for some people it might work, for some people, and but you actually basically saying it as it is, so that's really good to hear.
There's a biochemical process, and there's a reason why these processes are in the body, so we shouldn't interrupt the natural healing process too soon.
Great. Excellent. In terms of like general food intake, is there anything different that people should eat? Like, let's say first, second, third day, we're still in that inflammatory period. What kind of foods people should eat?
Okay. Well, I'd say just continue on your regular diet initially for the first week, and then after that really start to look at reducing the inflammation. So then the second phase of injury recovery can occur, okay? So the second phase is the proliferation phase, and this is where your body starts to lay down scar tissue, which is made of collagen and fibronectin. So that helps, obviously repair the muscle, repair the ligaments. And you don't want inflammation during that phase, because inflammation will degrade that scar tissue. Right. So once you get into that phase, you really want to start having more anti-inflammatory foods. So this will be anti-inflammatory fats. So things like omega-3 from your fish oils, lots of salmon, sardines, mackerel, also certain nuts like walnuts, which are quite high in omega-3. Flax seeds are really good. Avocados are also anti-inflammatory. Olive oil. Okay, so all those healthy fats. The one thing you do want to reduce is unhealthy fats, which is your saturated fats from butter and dairy, and also omega-6 fats, because omega-6 fats are pro-inflammatory. They, in fact, promote more inflammation.
Okay, so what's an example of a sort of natural food that contains omega-6?
So omega-6 are very concentrated in your vegetable oils and processed oils. So things like canola oil, rice bran oil, soybean oil, peanut oil, all of those unhealthy processed oils, which you should really be avoiding. This is why I would recommend olive oil instead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Should people increase their protein intake? Because, common sense, you'd think, okay, if it's a muscle tear, muscles are made of amino acids and essentially protein. So should people try and increase their protein intake as well, or?
I would actually wait a little bit to increase your protein intake. Reason being is because the stage 2, which is the proliferation stage, you really want to be reducing the inflammation. And protein is actually, especially if you're eating red meat, chicken, and even eggs, is actually quite inflammatory in the body.
Okay.
So you don't want to be doing it too soon. And because scar tissue is more collagen rather than, amino acids,
Right.
you don't really need lots of protein at this particular phase.
Okay.
So really, you want to be having a balanced diet, not too much protein, and certainly more fish. More fish. If you're going to have protein, try have more fish and legumes if you're a vegetarian. So beans and lentils, okay?
I keep hearing about, and this is like, this is not scientific, but I keep hearing this from many people, bone broth. Have you heard about that? Like,
oh yes, bone broth is really good.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. Sorry?
No, keep going, sorry.
Yeah, so bone broth is really good because it has glucosamine, glutamine, all these amino acids that help repair ligaments, cartilage, muscles. So it's definitely very nourishing.
Right.
And it's something I'd recommend in, I'd say stage 3 of your injury recovery.
Which is about a couple of weeks onwards, is it? Or
Yeah.
okay.
Once the inflammation subsides, you can then start eating more protein to help the muscle repair, and then also help repair the ligaments, anything else that's happened. So then that's when you want to start having your bone broth, having more lean meats and more eggs. And if you're a vegetarian, you can have like pea protein powder.
Right. Okay, cool. What about water intake? Is there anything that, I know people should drink more water anyway, and most people don't drink enough water, but particularly when they're recovering from an injury, should they be drinking more water than usual?
Yes, definitely, because the body's still going to be excreting some dead tissue particularly during stage 1 and 2, the inflammation phase where they need lots of water.
Right.
So,
okay.
But yeah, overall, definitely continue having more water just to support all the biological processes.
What's the current recommendation on water intake? I mean, I heard 8 glasses, then I heard 10 glasses. What's the current, I guess, your opinion on it?
Oh, well, it actually depends on the person and their body size, because if you compare a massive 130 kilogram man to a 50 kilogram woman, they obviously have a different blood volume, different requirement for fluid each day. So I can't say that there's a generic water requirement, but I would say to be healthy and prevent dehydration, you should be aiming for at least 2.5 liters a day.
Right.
So
okay.
that's quite a lot of water. That would be, I'd say, about 8 to 10 glasses a day.
Okay. So you basically should drink, I heard the saying, past the thirst. So if you just drink to your thirst, it's not enough, isn't it? You should be drinking a little bit more than you actually want to drink.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now you mentioned about,
Sorry, no.
So Nick, my next question was vegetarians, vegans, obviously they're probably generally lacking protein in their diet. So particularly when you're recovering from an injury, what can they do to replace the missing protein in their diet? Is there a certain strategy that you can recommend?
Sure. So you can actually get all of your protein requirements from a vegetarian vegan diet, which is good news. You just have to be quite smart about which plant foods you're eating. So if you're a vegan, for instance, just making sure that you're having lots of nuts and seeds. So things like almonds, walnuts, cashew nuts, peanuts, all of those are quite high in protein. And you can even have edamame. So edamame is really one of the most protein-packed beans that you'll find.
Okay.
Yep. Also broccoli has got quite a lot of protein in it as well.
Right.
Yeah, so you'd be surprised that you can get sneaky protein in many different places. Even mushrooms have quite a lot of protein in there. So, and if you need more calcium as a vegan, because obviously you're not going to be drinking milk, you can have seaweed. So seaweed has actually got 10 times as much calcium per gram compared to milk. So that's a really good source.
Okay. Cool. No, it's interesting to know that, I haven't actually known that broccoli and mushrooms actually have protein. That's quite something
That's
new.
the thing. People actually think that protein is only found in meat, but this is not the case. Like everything has some quantity of protein in it. So actually broccoli is pretty high in protein, which is why the bodybuilders, they typically have chicken and broccoli for their dinner.
Yeah.
So it's very high protein.
And
So vegetarians can take use of that and eat lots of broccoli, because not only is it going to give them protein, it's anti-inflammatory and it alkalizes the body, and it's got anti-cancer nutrients in there as well. So many benefits to having lots of broccoli.
So when you're injured, eat lots of broccoli, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, lots of broccoli.
Nice. Okay, cool. Now, we have a lot of our clients are over 40. Okay, so is there any special advice that you can give to people who are over 40? Any sort of dietary requirements, particularly when they're injured, that, is there anything they should do differently to someone who is, say, in their 20s?
So if you're over 40, your body will be a bit slower in recovering from an injury, and this is because I'd say your glutathione levels are a bit lower. So glutathione is a very important protein that's produced within every single cell of your body, and as we age, it starts to decrease. So in fact, it decreases 10 to 15% every decade. So glutathione is the body's most powerful antioxidant and detoxifying protein. And so as you age, it reduces, but it's also critically important for injury recovery, wound healing, because it modulates the immune system.
Okay.
So as you get older and your glutathione levels get less, this can it takes a lot longer for you to bounce back.
So where can you get more of this glutathione? I mean, how do you get more of it?
So you can obviously do it through your diet, but it's quite difficult to boost up your glutathione through your diet, because the key amino acid that we need for glutathione production is called cysteine. Now, cysteine is a very fragile amino acid, and so it's not very well absorbed through the gut. So if you're going to try eat lots of cysteine-rich foods, the absorption is still going to be quite low. So things like whey protein, garlic, and broccoli is also a cysteine-rich food.
Right.
However, if you really want a more powerful, potent, targeted approach, I would actually recommend a specific nutrient compound called Ribose Een. So Ribose Een is a cysteine nutrient. Okay, it's a cysteine delivery molecule. Okay, so basically it's cysteine bonded to a ribose sugar. So that's where it gets its name from, Ribose Een. So once the cysteine has been bonded to ribose, it's no longer so fragile. So it's readily taken up in the gut and utilized by every single cell in the body to help boost up the cellular defenses, boost up the cellular repair and the immune function as well. So that can really kickstart the healing process and recovery time. In fact, there's been a human trial on Ribose Een looking at wound recovery and after surgery, and the findings were that people who were given the Ribose Een had significantly faster recovery time, regardless of age. So it has a significant impact. And if you look up glutathione online, you will see that there are over 100,000 PubMed articles just on this one protein.
Wow.
So it's critically important. Hardly anyone knows about it because it's really the king of all the antioxidants in your body. It's the master cell protector.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's surprising that, I work with people after surgeries, and I've never heard of this critical component, isn't it? You really have to do some research to find out, isn't it?
Well, that's because it's something that your body naturally produces. So it's not a drug. It's not some miracle thing. It's not a nutrient, a particular thing that you can take through your diet.
Yeah.
It's something your body produces naturally. But there are things you can do to increase the production of glutathione. And Ribose Een is definitely the best way to do that. So you can actually get Ribose Een through a supplement called Cellular. So Cellular is very effective at reducing inflammation because it's also got very high potency turmeric root extract in there,
Right.
resveratrol, and also these other factors that really help to reduce the inflammation in the body.
So where can you get it from?
So you can get it online. So I do have an online distribution site for it because it's something that I've really seen have a lot of benefits for myself, but also for my clients as well, who suffer from high inflammation levels or arthritis even. I've noticed that my clients who do have arthritis respond really well to Ribose Een and the Cellular in particular. So they'll notice that even after 2 months on the product, less swelling in their joints and their hands and reduced pains and increased mobility as well. So and arthritis is particularly difficult to improve, so it's very effective.
So, okay, well, I was just thinking because I do have a lot of patients with arthritic, knees and hips, and basically they get to a stage where the only choice is really to have surgery, and a lot of people are scared and don't want to do it. So I suppose that's one more thing they can certainly try, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's natural, it's safe, there's no nasty side effects, whereas if you get cortisone injections, there's a lot of side effects involved, and it's an unnatural way of suppressing inflammation.
Yeah.
Whereas glutathione is your body's own pathway of dealing with inflammation and resolving the inflammation, not just suppressing it.
So in a natural way as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's much healthier long term to empower the body to heal itself, which is what I really love helping people with, because the body is an amazing machine, and when you give it the right fuels, the right nutrients, it can restore itself.
Right. Okay. Look, so what's the website where people can actually get in touch and if they're thinking of possibly buying this nutrient?
Yeah.
Do you want to type it into the chat box, or do you want me to do it? I can.
Sure. Hang on.
It's at the bottom.
Okay. Yep. Kind of getting used to Zoom. So my website is www.dna-nutrition.com, and there is more information about the glutathione products on there as well.
Perfect. Okay, guys. So if what you're hearing is interesting and you think you want to give it a go, then head over to this website. You can see on your screen. So it's www.dna-nutrition.com.
Yeah.
Cool. And if someone wants to get a DNA tested with you, how do they get in touch with you? Same thing, website, or?
Yeah, same thing through the website. You can contact me via email, or you can give me a call, or even just directly book an appointment.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so just the last question. If there was one piece of advice you could give to our viewers, so let's say someone has back pain, and what's the best advice you can give them in terms of nutrition to help them recover quicker?
From back pain in particular?
Well, back pain is very common. So let's say back pain, what would be your sort of your number one thing that you think they should do?
Well, certainly doing lots of stretches and everything, but that's what the physios talk about.
Yeah.
But it depends on what causes the back pain, really. Is it stress that's affecting the back pain, or is it a physical, if it's been a structural damage like the cartilage, or there's maybe cartilage damage, a slipped disc? It really depends on what's causing it. So if your back pain's muscular and it's because of stress, then certainly doing things to help reduce the stress in your body will be very effective. So that's where having a high omega-3 intake can be really beneficial.
Okay.
But also magnesium can really help a lot with reducing muscle ache
Mm-hmm.
and muscle stiffness as well if it's muscle sprain.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You hear about magnesium
So
being really good to help people sleep better, isn't it? To relax and
yeah, that's right. So if it's stress related, you're tired from work, you're in your office all the time and you're under a lot of stress, then magnesium is really great. But also I would say green tea is helpful as well.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's very good. So look, thank you very much for your time. I'm sure that our viewers have learned a lot today. And to be honest, even like myself, I've actually got some really good answers to some questions that I've been looking for answers for years. And you're actually the first person to give me a solid answer.
Oh,
So
glad I could help.
yeah, no, like thank you so much. And guys, look, if you're interested in what Elaine is doing, your practice is based in North Shore, isn't it? It's in North Coast.
No, it's in Parnell.
Oh, Parnell. Sorry, I thought I looked at the website probably the wrong way. But
It's
cool.
okay.
So, all right. Well, thank you for tonight. And if you have any questions, guys, do you have any questions at all for Elaine? You can type it in. No, all pretty happy. Cool. Okay. Well, have a good night, and thank you again for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.